In the last video we looked at how we can take in information from Promap, the likes of Promap, that's the mapping data and height data, and combine them within a single Caddie drawing to show the layout of a site. Don't forget incidentally that if you only have 2D survey information, that's points with the text associated with them, in the Caddie DTM application we can also process that information to get the height points themselves from a simple 2D plan. So if that's the situation you're in, you don't have the 3D height data, then that's not a problem, it can still be done. First of all though, what we'll do is we'll look at how we can make it simpler to take a look at various constituent parts of our drawing after we've created them. And the way we're going to do that is we're going to layer our drawing. So we can either go to the scope tools, and we'll see there we have lay set, so that's layer set. That tool is also on the top toolbar here, and we click that one and we see all the layers that we have within our drawing. Coming down, we see we've got height points at the bottom. If we wish to create any more, you can see we can insert and re-index these. We can create, and we simply type what we want it to be. So we could type in 3D mesh, for instance. We can carry on creating layers within our drawing until we have all of the layers that we want. And we could put in things like the contours, we could put in things like site sections. So that's how we accomplish the feat. Those layers are then available for use from the selection box here at the top of our Caddie screen. Having created the different layers within our drawing, what we're going to do now is make use of layers to switch off parts of our drawing so that we can see the information that we do want much more easily. So how do we do that? Well, within the scope tools here, we go to layer display and you see our slider bar at the side. Now I've got update layers dynamically ticked, which means that if we remove or add in layers, we can immediately see the result of that, and we can use the normal Windows Shift and Control keys to select blocks of layers or just individual ones. So if we come down the list, all we're interested in at the moment is the height point, so selecting the Control key now, having selected that, we'll choose 3D tin because that's where we're going to put our 3D model. So OK that, and then go to the DTM tools. If we don't have our DTM tools loaded, that's a DTM application, you'll see it's down here on my screen. If we right click over one of the applications that we do have loaded, Caddie for instance, we can go to load application and that will give us a selection of the applications available to us. Pick the one we want and load it, then the tools will be incorporated within our menus. I already have the DTM tools, so let's go to them now. So DTM, and we see our DTM tools there on the right, having selected the main tool on the left. So what are we going to do? Well, we're going to triangulate. We're going to create a 3D tin model, a triangular irregular network. And how do we do that? Well, we simply drag a rectangle, having selected the tool. It says select entities, first corner, around which the entities that we want to include within our tin. Having said that, it would be useful to incorporate our tin within the drawing on a specific layer. So if we come down and choose that 3D tin layer, then just drag over, and then that will create our 3D tin model for us from the separate height points. Having created our tin model, what we can do, as well as zooming in on it and orbiting around, so we can see actually the undulations there. In fact, if we change our render mode, so this is down at the bottom of the screen, to Phong rendered, we'll see a little more clearly the undulations and related to the height points there, which of course we can switch off. If we want to do that, then we can go back to our Caddie scope tools and layer display and switch off the height points by adding the control key when we pick the layer. So there we have our site and we can see the undulations and the trees and so on within it. Having created this model, what we can now do is maybe produce contours from it. Now, contours obviously are not going to be a true representation when including the surface that we have here, but you could do a very similar process with the DTM, that's the terrain model. But for the purposes of this exercise, we'll look at how we can produce the contours from it. We'll go to a top view. So if we go to View, Top View, and there we are, we see our site. And then back in the DTM tools, obviously we can choose to set up shortcuts to these, as I have here. So I've just a shortcut. Look to other videos within the Caddie website, training videos there to find out how to customize your menus to give you the shortcuts you want. We'll now go to contours. We pick the contours and simply drag a box around the area we wish to contour. This brings up a dialog box which allows us to describe exactly what we want in the way of contours. So where the minimum contour is, where the maximum contour is, what the major contours and minor contours are, what colours they're represented on the screen, through to text labels, the heights, and whether we want the text angled or aligned. We can also say for the contours whether we want to layer them automatically. So if we go for layer labels, for instance, we can come down our list and also put that on contour heights. OK, so when the contours are generated, as it's doing now, it will put those onto those specific layers for us, saving us the trouble of having to do it maybe later or doing it separately within the command. Having created the contours, there we can see them on top of our model, we can also go back to our scope tools and introduce those. Again, we can set up shortcuts to get to these things more quickly, but if we go layer display and maybe switch off our tin model now, but add in the basic information on our site, maybe any other items that we want to there, we get a picture of our site with the contours placed on it. And if we look, we can see the actual text is written in there as it was described. And of course that will be as you want it rather than as what we've done here, and you don't need to have the surface model but the terrain model. Maybe that would be a better choice in this instance. Having seen how we can produce a 3D tin model from our height data, and taken a look at how we can look at different aspects of our drawing through the use of layers, in the next video we'll look at sectioning our tin model. So we're going to take sections through our site and place them onto our drawing. We'll also take a look at how we can produce from the 3D tin a mesh and then drape an image across that mesh, so giving us an aerial photograph that molds itself to the contours of in this case, the surface model rather than the terrain model of the ground itself.